good morning, and this is Rotimi Tayo. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we're excited. This is the today's Wednesday, and it's another day. It's a great day to be alive, and we're on the show today. Fantastic day, actually, it is. And we are here and live and direct. So please, as you join us, do let us know your name, your location, where you're streaming from, and also please ensure that you participate and communicate with us in the comment section. Ask your questions where you have to, and we'll try as much as possible best to engage and treat your questions. We have our analyst in the studio, and we have Titi. Titi, good morning, Titi. How are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Morning, good morning. And of course, we will be introducing Dr. Judah Shade. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, TT. And good morning, Internet.
Good morning, Jude.
Good morning. And Tola.
Wow.
Morning, Obeto.
Have number today.
Good morning, Ms. Titi. Good morning, Jude. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi.
Good morning, Mr. Ivan.
And good morning, Internet.
I said the women are outnumbered today.
Yes. It was planned. It was planned.
I didn't get that. You said what?
You said the women are outnumbered. I said it was planned.
Is Titi feeling threatened? Oh my God, Titi, for the first time. Oh my God, this feels good.
Yeah,
Dude, let's always remember this, at least as long as it lasts, even if it's for 10 minutes. I like that feeling. She's trending softly, you know. I say she's on.
She's trending on safety. She's trending on safety ground.
Before help comes, let me not look for trouble. SOS, Titi, SOS. Fantastic. We've had a great time since Monday. I didn't get that.
You said it won't last.
It won't last. But you know, you have to relish the moment. Where all right. Okay. We started this week on a very good note. We started with the conversation that has to do with Monday was. Can anyone help me with Monday's session? What we talked about on Monday?
We talked about
KK is around.
We talked about image. We talked about image projection.
Yes, image projection, protection, and perfection. And yesterday was International Literacy Day, and yesterday was also fantastic. We had so many perspectives as regards to the rate of literacy in Nigeria versus the world, what we needed to do, how we needed to approach it. And of course, today is another day, and today we'll be talking about challenges facing public education. And I just knew that Eben was going to come live today. You know, he likes those kind of topics. And then he said to be sincere, you know, that kind of thing. So you have to take a flight all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada to be here. And of course, our nose mask Republican is in the building. KK, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I've missed you all so much.
We are still outnumbering them, yes. Welcome, KK.
Titi,
Good morning. Good to have my cousin.
Okay.
Let's
just have an advert. We'll not go straight to the conversation of today. We'll just have an advert and go to conversation.
Okay.
Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the Good Morning Education Show. This is a different setup. I'm sure you have noticed I'm not in our regular studio today. Yes. We are live all the same. All right. So let's just go straight to the conversation of the day. We are talking about the challenges facing public education or public education system. Of course, our major focus will be Nigeria. We might be able to extend a little bit to Africa today, and probably some other episode or edition we'll be able to talk about other countries as well. But let's talk about Nigeria today. What are the challenges facing public education? If there are challenges, what are those challenges? What can be done in such a way where we prioritize what the focus should be? How can we assist? And when I say we, I mean all stakeholders, practitioners, professionals alike, and so many things. So that's the dimension with which I would like for us to start the conversation. And I'm going to ask us to start with Jude this morning. Jude is going to lead the conversation. So, Jude, over to you, sir. What's your comment and feedback on this?
I don't get that, Mr. Rotimi, please.
So we're talking about the challenges facing public education. I would like to just probably enumerating those challenges. Yeah.
Okay. Public education, it's I'm a product of public education, I would say, and it has its challenges, it has its benefits, and even when I was in school, in my public school, I was wishing I had friends that they were in private school, so they were like, "You were missing something in private schools." Maybe I missed, I don't know. You should tell me, some of you that attended private school. So I was like, they will make you feel like you should attend this school. And actually, it wasn't that they were doing anything malicious or it was bad, but they had like better opportunities, or they had like better teaching environment, right? So for public schools, the challenges are still the same. It's just that the population has increased, so it's making it even worse, right? So public schools has always, not always anyway, recently been associated with bad infrastructure. So it wasn't too obvious when the population of public schools was few, or when they were less, or when our population generally was not as much as what we have today. But as the population increases, it reveals a lot of the lapses in public education, which you will not see in private schools, because private schools have an image to protect. But for the public education, most of those it's mostly infrastructure, it's mostly the way teachers handle the business of public education, because sometimes they don't take it serious. I think maybe because of the pay just coming, right? But for private schools, you have to work for it, you have to show that you are working. But for public schools, the teachers are most likely not to want to show any extra effort, because they feel the pay is just coming and nobody's really going to be hard on them. So it's mostly infrastructures, it's mostly the learning environment, and it's mostly the neglect that governments actually don't give attention more to public schools, or even education in general. Because I know even overseas you have teachers striking, but sometimes it's not even always they don't strike because they don't pay them or they are not well kept and all that. It's mostly in Nigeria and this part of the world you hear they strike because they are not well kept, or they are not paid, or this and that. Overseas, most times you find it's not even for the money, it's for other social causes. And
all right,
I think
thank you.
It's a general thing.
Let me ask Eben. Eben, are you there? Do you think that it's a case of having a farmer without a hoe? You know, sometimes when you go close to some of these educators within the public education system, there are a lot of things that you discover that sometimes it looks like we expect so much, when they've not been so much enabled. They don't have a lot. So it's like having a farmer who has no farming tools or implements. Do you think that's the case of what we are dealing with, especially the challenges in education, public education system?
You are right. You are right with that statement. There are so many things I actually observe about the public education teachers around the school. They are. Can you hear me? I don't know whether you can hear me.
The volume is not too loud.
Can you hear me? I think the
Yeah,
network here in Jebo is somehow.
we can hear you.
You can
We
hear
can
me.
hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me.
I can hear
We
you,
can,
Mr. Iben. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, let me just continue then. One of the major challenges that I actually observed is that most of them have the knowledge of the curriculum, the knowledge, but as you said, there are a lot of tools that they are lacking in actually implementing some of those knowledge they have. And there are other things I actually observed from them that you did not ask me. um, I observed that most of them are with old knowledge about education, about teaching, about curriculum, about how things work in the educational system. And it's not that they don't actually have access to the new knowledge. They have access to the new knowledge, but there's no motivation towards searching for new knowledge because where they are presently, they are comfortable with it. The only challenges they have is just maybe overpopulation challenge and more. So, and there is no competition whereby you are being reinforced as doing one thing or the other in a very nice way, best this and that. I think they do some of those things, but to me, there is no much innovation to what I see in the school. But thank God for COVID-19. COVID-19 actually brought a lot of educators, throw them into challenges that they will need to just try their best as much as possible to think about how school can be run in another way, which it has not been run before. But I'm very sure in the course of this morning education show, I'm going to list some of those challenges I've actually seen, that I've actually observed, and everything is going to be all right.
Okay, thank you very much. So KK, over to KK. You've heard Jude and you've heard Eben, share their own thoughts. Now, still on the challenges facing public education, right?
Mhm.
I would like to bring a little bit of focus into the conversation. Let's talk about exposure, because sometimes I hear people say, and I'm sure you too, you said it before, that when people know better, they tend to do better. And knowledge in some cases might just be from the level or this place of exposure, right? Do you want to talk from that perspective, still on the challenges, or could it be a dearth of knowledge? And when we say knowledge, majorly from the exposure side of things.
So, Sarotimi, when we talk about this exposure, it all boils down to leadership, to be honest with you. It boils down to school leadership, it boils down to sector leadership, it boils down to self-leadership. Because if you have a situation where everybody in the sector understands the importance of what it is they're doing and can clearly see their position in that place, this talk about exposure is something that you would push yourself to go and find it. Eben said something. He said it's not as if they do not have access to this knowledge. It's just that thing on the inside of you that says, you know what, I need to go for this. I know that there's something better out there and I need to push myself. So reality is, yes, should they be going for training? They should. Should they be doing exchange programs? They should. But in the case where they're unable to do these things, so how about me? What do I do for myself? Right? I mean, I have a few public sector teachers in my following in terms of the fact that I mentor them and I work with them. They did not come to me via the public school. They came to me via themselves. They said, you know what? We know that there's much more out here and we would like to find out so that at least children that come to us, even if it's one or two we can touch, let us do something for them. And that's what we are lacking. We're lacking leadership in all of its
How did
ramifications.
they find? Sorry to ask you. How did they find you? As in, how did they find you out? What was
On
that
Facebook.
connect?
So it was just my talk on education. And then somebody, whatever I'm saying, they're like, oh, we saw this on Facebook. It popped up on my feed. Ma, can you mentor me? I work in this. I'm like, okay, so what do you do? And in having those conversations with them, I realized that, oh, you work in the public school. Oh, that's interesting. What public school? Another thing is from networks. So that's also the huge importance of networks. Some of them have networks they belong to, where some of the people that I know belong to. And maybe when I'm called to speak or to teach, then they connect with me via that place. So you must put yourself in the place of light for the light to shine on you. If you keep staying in the dark, then you are going to be able to come out and explore all of the things that you can enjoy when you are in the light. And that's what I see when we talk about exposure, which honestly, like I said, take me right back to that leadership debate. There's a huge problem with leadership, self-leadership, sectoral leadership, school leadership in the public sector. Once we solve the leadership problem, all of these other things, they know what to do now. We will know how to do it.
So I want to ask Titi. Yeah, fantastic. Titi, how do we solve this leadership problem and issue?
Why did you save the hard question to last?
Your cousin's statement is what led to it.
Cousin is the guru of school leadership. That's the question you should have asked her. Rotimi, how do you solve the problem on leadership? I think Keke has tried to, answer that a bit. If you are a leader, you have to first of all come to a place of self-realization. Self-realization meaning that there's a gap. If a leader or anybody at all doesn't feel that there's a gap in what I'm doing, then you won't go to a place where you then start looking for where to solve it. And then once you find out that there's that gap, you then find out where's the place of the answer. Where can I get the answer? How can I surround myself with people that are the answer? There's a popular saying that you should never be the smartest person in the room. You should always surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And once you surround yourself with smart people, those smart people know that you truly want to do something. Then you see them, we need to put heads together for us to then look for the solution. So that's what I think. So what I think is that if you know you're a leader and you're lucky, then you need to bring people on board, either from a consultancy perspective or from an enlarged team, with people that are, more knowledgeable, better at you at that. And then having that willingness to want to see a change. Because if you do not want to see a change, I'm not saying that if you're still set in your old ways, even when you bring the right people to join your team, a lot will not happen. And so if people start with saying, you know what, we've seen how it can be better. We've seen the impact on education and the changes it can make to a country. Because education remains the greatest weapon in which we can use to change our country. It remains the weapon in which we can, cause there to be economic growth in our country. It remains the weapon in which we can use to improve healthcare. All those things really cannot happen without education. And when I mean education, it's not always formal education. Once people are enlightened, once their eyes are open to opportunities, to things that can happen, once they see that it can be better, because once you stay in the land of the blind, you just know that that's the normal. But when you go to the place where sighted people are, that it's different. That's what we talk about when we say exposure. Exposure makes you realize there's a better way, and that better way is not an way. So that's really my contribution to that. But let me even step back and talk about another area of challenge when it comes to the public sector. I think, we talked about it a bit yesterday. One is the numbers. So you have demand and supply not not favorable to them. What I mean is that number one, when you look at the teacher-student ratio, I mean, when we had the Lagos State, when schools are saying, you know what, I have 2,000 teachers, I have 2,000 children, but have only 20 teachers, then there is a problem. KK said that if I'm an English teacher and I have to mark a hundred English essays, I'm not sure I'll be able to do justice to that if I have to do that every day. So there's that student-teacher ratio that really um, requires a to be able to make an impact. So I
Yeah.
saw I saw an advert yesterday, I think for Lagos State, where they were putting out an advert saying that they're looking for uh, teachers to join, the basic for, I think, for an online. So there needs to there's a major need to push up the numbers in terms of teachers. You can bring down student teacher ratio. I think that's really very critical. If the teacher is going to have any really major impact, because how can you teach a class to 100, 150? It's easier to do that at tertiary level, but not so much easier to do that at secondary and primary school level. So it can really be tough. So one of the major challenges, is the numbers. We need to push up the numbers. We need to push up the quality as well in terms of the quality of teachers. And lastly, I would say that we need funding. All these things need money. So I saw the advert and I saw the salary that they were proposing for the teachers. It was 30,000 naira. Let's be honest. What quality of teacher would you get 30,000 naira? What kind of, how motivated will I be to work with so many people with 30,000 naira? Where 30,000 naira will go? How can I hope to support? And what quality would we be getting at 30,000 naira? So that's another thing. So we need funding in the sector to really make sense. All this training, all this motivation. I'm not saying that teachers will end up being the best paid, but there needs to just be some, minimum salary that
I like that.
Yeah.
Uh, you want someone to say something?
No. I'm just agreeing with Titi that that's just the
Okay.
truth. When you
All
look at
right.
all of the things, yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are discussing on challenges facing public education. And I'd like to use the opportunity to welcome Ugochi Safety Chick to the show. Safety Chick, good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Good morning,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you so much. Good morning,
Yes.
Annalise. Good morning, everyone watching us.
Excellent teacher is also online. Ifyok is online. Favor is online. And we want to say good morning to you all joining us on the show. So over to Safety Chief. What are your thoughts on challenges facing public education?
Okay, so I think that they do not have enough infrastructure, and sometimes they are working with really little resources. They are just trying to augment, and for some of them, sometimes some of the teachers now end up using their own personal funds because they just really want to help the system. They just want to help the students in their care, and it's not enough. At some point something's got to give because they can't bankroll that expense by themselves. So imagine, yeah, you're in a school, there is no perimeter fencing, anybody can come in or walk in at any time. We do not even have the right facilities, wash facilities. All those things are also important. And if we're saying that we're making education, we're saying that education is free in a public school system, for example, and then this public school does not now have the right resources, how does that inspire parents to want to send their children there? See, so we really need to work on the infrastructure part of things. Mr. Deus has already spoken about teachers, so I don't want to dwell on that a lot. But infrastructure is also really, really needed, so that it's going to make sure that these children have good quality. It's not fair that the children in private schools seem to be getting it better than the children in public schools. It's not fair. We both sides must be carried along, because at the end of the day, they are all going to meet at the front. The children go to private school and children that go to public school are going to live in the same society. There's no separate society for those that did public education and separate one for those that did private education. So we must ensure that the basics are got across board. So any infrastructure should be put such that we shouldn't even be able to know the difference between someone that went to a public school and someone that went to a private school, ideally. So I really believe that infrastructure is really necessary. It's 30 I'm done.
Rotimi, are you there? Your mic is on mute.
I think his mic has frozen, maybe. So if I can just jump in while we are waiting for Mr. Rotimi. I mean, just following from what Safety Chick said and resource distribution in public schools. So I mean, last week when we were in one of the training that went for Lagos State, something that happened was very interesting to me. So even in VI, there was such a huge discrepancy in terms of resource distribution. There were schools that they were telling us that they had empty classrooms, they had more furniture than they needed, but then there were still some schools within the same education districts that didn't have enough. And so in my head, I'm like, so where is the leadership here? Why can't we just look at it and say, let's redistribute these resources? How much will it take to buy coastal buses to move children from point A to point B? Are we saying that education is not important enough for us to make the investments that are needed to make this section count? A lot of the times, children from public schools are the ones that end up in politics. Mm-hmm. So if we really want to make a change in our country, we must begin to look into the public sector. And we must look into it without this ostrich mentality of putting our head in the sand and the entire huge body is outside. So really, there's a lot that needs to be done. And the divide, unfortunately, is just getting wider and wider. Because there's still nothing. When I was younger and in school, some 35 years ago, it was different for us than now. And things should get better. If you are looking at the natural order of things should just get better. There's too much decay, there's too much corruption, and something needs to be done. So it begs the question, is it that public school education, that we see that there's no relevance for it in our society? Thanks, Titi. Let me hand over to you.
Okay, honestly, if you are to talk, and I think this would be my question to everyone. If you are to talk about policy, when I mean policy, and say if there's the number one policy that would make the politicians and public sector sit up to the case of education, and let me give an example. For instance, during this COVID, can you hear me?
Yes.
During this COVID, everybody was, so to speak, trapped in the country, so that everybody had to practice health care that is available in the country. So it brought the state of the healthcare to the fore.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that, do you think if we talk, being radical, whereby people that are in public sector, people that are in public position, if there's a policy that says that they must partake of all the public facilities. So what that means is that when it comes to healthcare is the healthcare that's available in their district or in their state. They can't come to Lagos for better healthcare. Their children must go to public schools in their district. Would that be drastic? Would that help? Because I feel that that's part of the issue, whereby the people making the policies are far away from the realities. So when the president on his point and they don't partake of our traffic, they go with sirens so that where they are going is stressless. They don't come. So what do you think about that?
I love it.
Especially something drastic that would help, begin to do things the priority. imperative for us.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If that is done, then they will be definitely closer to the constituents. They would be more empathetic towards the feelings of people because they are also experiencing it. And because they would like to, I mean, they don't have all the options that they obviously have right now. So in that case, whatever it is that everybody else is enjoying or not enjoying, because they are put in office to serve the public, right? They are put in public in office to serve the public. So the public that you are serving, and then you don't even understand the pain points of this public. How can you serve them? Right? So yeah,
Yeah. I think when it comes to politicians and the way they handle some issues, especially important issues as education, most times it will still boil down to where, let's take it to the beginning. It's always going to boil down to where they are coming from, right? They are coming from amongst us, so it shows the root cause is our perspective on which or how we see education generally. So what they are just displaying is just what they have already known or what they believe has been in what they call it, has been obtainable in the system. Because I don't see, most times you see all the manifesto about how you want to make education great again, and you get into office and it's a different ball game. So something really is wrong with the mindset, and something really is wrong with the system on how they perceive education. And it could be scary that even if any of us or all of us go and start become politicians and go into the system, we might not do better or we might do worse. So something really is wrong with the mindset in education. Something which has to be dealt with on how we perceive education.
I can see Rhoda. Rhoda, are you here?
Oh yes, I am. I'm just loving and listening.
So we would like to hear from you. We've been talking about the issues,
The problems of public education.
But I want us to move away from issues and talk about what kind of drastic solutions should we start, saying that we want government to take. My first solution was saying, I get embarrassed when I see, people in high places, they're celebrating their children, graduating from foreign universities, people that are, the face of public sector, of the public. I'm like, this is not a thing of pride. I can't imagine that the president of America is celebrating that his child is graduating from another country. It just doesn't show national pride. So, what do you think are some of the drastic things, or we can suggest, the government does to start, keeping, some light at the end of this tunnel called public education?
Yeah, Titi, I think what I'm going to say is not going to be different, essentially, from what all of you probably are thinking or have said in the past. And I think that if it's as per solutions, like so many solutions have been preferred, deliberated, discussed, amongst a lot of people. It is now for us to put our weight behind those solutions. And but if I were to, in order, sort of like if I were the one, steering the ship, one of the first things I would want to embark on is actually to collect my data, because you see, you can't solve a problem you don't know of. You can't really solve a problem that you don't know the intricacies of that problem or how it's solved. So take, for example, currently, I think, or just recently, an assessment was done or is being done on schools in the state, Lagos State. And for the very first time, the group during this assessment actually saw how bad the situation was. And it's not that they're seeing it, they're also collecting it. So they're seeing structural, physical classroom deficits. They're seeing teacher quality deficits live. They're seeing student population gaps. They're seeing, of course, the fact that the school is far from home when it comes to public education. Believe me, that is why when KK said in the same community, in the same LG, you will find a school that is overpopulated and one that's, to my mind, underpopulated. And of course, this also has infrastructural gaps. So people are collecting, these people were serious about collecting the data, and they're collecting it so they have all evidence, pictures, numbers, people, staff, everything you can think of. So yes, you begin with data and you collect it, but what do you do with it? To my mind, the reason why I don't just say investment, the reason I don't use the word investment without using an adjective before it, is because I don't believe, in my mind, that we've pulled our way through investment as we should. And I always use the word honest investment, because when you invest honestly, that means you're targeting the problems and trying every possible way to solve it without fear or favor. And that is the problem. Corruption. Nobody likes to call it what it is. We can't call it enough. It is not enough to stop. We said it, we keep saying it, but that's our biggest challenge. Because when you now say, I'm going to fix the class, look, I've often said, you know what, at the very basic, let us just even have classrooms in the first place. Let's just even have those. Forget, okay, we leave the others. At least let's have classrooms that are decent looking, that can accommodate a minimum standard of 40 to 45. And that's because evidence says if the teacher quality is right, that number would be actually catered. You can get some gains, learning gains, because the goal is learning gains. As we were coming from yesterday's literacy discussions, so the goal is ultimately is learning gains, learning to be self-sufficient, learning to contribute to society, learning to be an individual that increases the national GDP. So it's for me, collect the data and invest honestly, and then put the right people in the right places. These are also honest investments. Until these 2-3 things are done, I'm not sure. And then we need somebody who's going to share that gift. Being honest.
I can feel you. I can feel you, Rhoda. I can feel you.
Yeah.
I can feel your pain in the.
I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the thick of it. So this is why whenever we have the conversation, I often go back to my reality. My reality is I'm seeing them every single day. When I'm working, there's no way. So this is what I do. My pattern to work, everything I do, whether I'm writing a policy, a plan, a work plan, whatever it is, I always have the picture of children in one particular school with one girl called Folake in my head. Folake, I remember Folake every time I write something, because she was in a classroom where the roofs were caving in. Some of them were sitting on stone, cement, and her teacher struggled to use half of the board.
That's not a safe heaven for learning, and it's even a dangerous place to learn. That's a dangerous.
So I think about Folake and I write a plan, because Folake is my mindset in writing a plan. I can't afford. Look, I never live Folake's life. It's not, which is why somehow I don't. How do I say this so I don't sound confused? I don't know what the word to use. I don't believe 100% that you have to have lived in the conditions to do right. Everybody knows what is wrong. Everybody knows. So I never lived Folake's life. Yes, I didn't come from a wealthy background. I came from a very humble background, but I didn't live her life. But it doesn't mean that I don't understand the pain. Again, when people are not well exposed, they also don't know what to do, because they don't know what the real standard is. So if their life was all about Folake's life, how better can they think of it? Can they really think? Yes, they can. I'm not saying they can't, but they can put themselves in those shoes and say, I want better, right? But then ultimately, they also need to be exposed. And that's what education, a good education does for you. It lifts you up from where you were, but catapults you into somewhere you need to be, and then helps you to come back and give back. And that is exposure.
Thank you, Rhoda. I think that is so on point, and that we need honest investment in education. And the honest investment is not just money. The honest investment means, first of all, and that's what Kiki was saying as well. Kiki was saying that we need to know see what's existing, so that before we even start adding more, we can shuffle things around, and that's really the point where data comes in. So I agree that
Yeah.
we can't talk blanketly. People say this is the actual data what we
Hello.
have in the across board. This is the immediate thing we can do to shuffle things around. And then when we have the honest from people that really want to make a change, then we begin to talk. When we take out corruption, when we take out really having the target market in mind and really wanting to do something about them, then there's hope. I can see that Mr. Eitayo is back. And let me just take this comment.
I'm not.
Hand it back to you.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yes, Rotimi.
Okay, so I'm not totally back, but I just wanted to add to Rhoda and put the question back to Rhoda and probably everyone on the team. And the question is, Rhoda said that we have a problem of not having the right people in the right places. And sometimes when we really look at that statement, it's pregnant with meaning. And sometimes the right people are the ones that are the problem. They have gone away from being in the right place. So how do we have right-minded, right expertise, right thinking, right doing people in the place of where they are to do those things? So how do we have a lot of Rhoda replicated in this system? Because how many plans will Rhoda write? How many curriculum will Rhoda supervise? How many trainings will Rhoda take? How many supervision? How many quality control will Rhoda do? So most of the right people actually are not right any longer because of where they are. And being a right person in a wrong place makes you a wrong person. So
And I think
Rhoda,
the right
what do you have to
people,
say to that?
the right people are always frustrated at the point at the larger point of time, because now we're trying to look for solutions, right? If this lingers maybe into 20-30 years, definitely our frustration will start showing that the system is bad. So most times the system can actually frustrate the right people out of place, and might not be able to get them. But maybe the private sector, or maybe the masses has to actually do something about public education. If the government is not really keen on helping public education, the masses somehow have an agenda to actually make public education better than what the government is doing. So probably then we might be able to show a sample of what is right and what public education should be, and anyone going into government can actually take a cue from that.
Rhoda,
Someone
where
said,
is Rhoda? I want Rhoda to answer that question.
go to me, why are you doing that? Someone once said that, that conversation, statement that a lot of people make here is that that education standards have been lowered. And the person said to me, is it possible for standards to be lowered? Because standards
I
are
know the
standards.
question.
Standards. So the question about the right people. When a group of people have taken a new face, they will be right, but in the wrong place, right? So we're trying to equate right with right. But now we're saying that likely there's a population of right that is in the wrong, in the right place. Then it basically goes back to making sure that our policies completely change. So, my good friend Jimmy Disu used to always say, he would say you need to empower individuals in their workplaces. So, for example, I have a line management, and my line management, I serve as a director, and my line management, there are managers and there are also supervisors. Now, maybe one of the supervisors is a field officer who actually does a lot of research on the ground for me. And what the person is researching on is how maybe this person's task was to pilot a new numeracy program, right? and the person goes and does that numeracy program and comes back to me with a report and tells me honestly that one of the original plan of the pilot is bad because out of 10 things that we wanted to achieve, we're only able to achieve 4. And then this report comes to me, and it means that I have to change the program, one, or readjust the program, maybe not essentially change, adjust the program and do another pilot. What it means that there's going to be capacity cost, right? And there's probably going to be other, sometimes other costs that are coming. Now, what's expected of me to do is to take hook, line, and sinker what that staff has done, isn't it? The field officer has done. And if I take what she has done, as if I question, first of all, I would take it, question it, ask a few more questions. She'll give me evidence of what she did. And then I'm supposed to use what she has said and redo my pilot to get it to at least an 8 out of 10, isn't it? So that I can launch this numeracy program. But what is going to happen in a country like Nigeria is that I have 2 right people working on a particular project, but one person is now chamfered based off of another authority that is before them who said, sorry, I cannot spend that money. Sorry, this is not going to happen. Right? And that kills it. But now I was supposed to launch a numeracy project or program, which is supposed to increase learning gains for the children. But at some point, money is gone, or administration says, or the hierarchy comes and says, I'm sorry, we don't have the funding to do this. I'm sorry, how is it? And that kills it. So there are 2 right people in the right places, but then there's somebody right there up there. So I know you know where I'm going to, Rotimi, and without me saying it. And that kills my work. So the question of rights equals rights, you and I know, Rotimi, that there are other things that factors into it, which is leadership and investment, honest investment. Do you really want a solution? Or do you want to look like you want a solution? Rotimi, you know what I'm saying. I'll stop there.
Titi, over to Titi.
At this time, I think we've said a lot. We need to pick up some of the comments coming from the audience. I think to also get their own input as we then wrap up. We have barely 10 minutes left of the show. This is a topic that needs a part 2, honestly, Rotimi. I think yeah. So I don't know whether I want to take the comments and come back and then wrap up. So we have one comment on the screen. Let me start by saying that now we've missed you. Do you understand? Every day we are looked out for you in the comments. You weren't up there, so we are very excited that you're back with us. Today. Thank you. And Nana has said a lot. Let me just take pointing what's on the screen. Nana is saying that in response to your answer, Rotimi, quality teacher training is crucial. Also, I think all teachers should be paid by the government, irrespective of where they teach, be it private or public school. That's very interesting. I have children that I pay a lot of money for in a private school and a child in a public school. Yet all their teachers are paid by the government. The only difference is in their numbers and parental influences. That is such an interesting interesting option of being paid by everybody being paid by the government. Rotimi, can we have more comments? I like this question. Comment from Nana. She's throwing it back to us. She says it all boils down to policy implementation. In a country where the most vulnerable do not get any form of justice when they are faced with injustice, what do you expect? Until you and I change, we'll keep talking about the same things. How many of us really on this program have children in the public school? Then I think that's, Nana, you're throwing this back at us. We need to collectively cry out at the injustice. There was something that happened during the week. There was a policy that one of the Lagos state officials put back. He put out, and there was a major cry on Twitter against it, and the government came back and revoked that policy. So I agree that we need to have a voice. Our voice needs to ring out louder. we that are, then in the public, we need to ring out loud. That's what I think. Nana is agreeing with me. This topic needs a part two. Yes, it needs a part two. We are welcoming Chinam. So welcome. Zena Mabini Adesoya is saying, you are right, Rhoda Odibo. You can't solve problems that you're unable to identify the cause. And that is, confirming we need a lot of data. Favor, thank you as our ever faithful, ever present Favor. He said, public schools are funded in a way. Buildings are erected and other facilities initially provided. But what we see is a lot of maintenance culture. Hence, we see the later dilapidated buildings here and there all over the place. Yes, that maintenance culture. More comments? The excellent teacher, we missed you as well. Welcome today to the Good Morning Show. She said, I once posted on my channel that I taught 150 students in one class, and a lot of people did not believe it. That's how overpopulated some of the classes in the public schools are. I think that, Rhoda's point, in that when you look at the amount you can push with a quality teacher, it's never really more than 45. And the excellent teacher is saying, safety tip, just use the word bankrolling. Yes, we need to bankroll this sector. Yes, Nana, you've missed a lot of the shows, but thank you that you always go back to watch our replay. You're just a faithful member of this tribe. We really, really thank you. If you're another faithful member of the tribe, good morning, educators. If you're with one of us out there, good morning, if you're. We are happy to have you as always. I'm not sure we can take more comments. Yes, Oluwadamilola Afiz Ali, you really missed a lot for the past 2 days. It's been really interesting. Good morning from Oluwadamilola. Good morning, viewers. So I think at this point we should go back and take the rounding of comments from all our panelists. Rhoda has been on fire, so we'll allow the fire to douse a bit, and we'll start with KK. KK, are you there? As we close the show today, what are your parting comments?
Hi. So it all boils down to leadership in my head. All these things that we've talked about, if we have the right leadership, resource distribution, resource allocation, the proper policies, the doing, not just the talking, will be instituted, and we would have a system where periodically we're reviewing our values, we're reviewing our processes, we're reviewing our success metrics. But if we have the wrong leadership, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, first of all, it doesn't get done. And then secondly, it's just like Rhoda said, are we saying we want to do it, or are we actually going to do it? Yeah, so for me, it boils down to leadership. Once we have the right leadership, like I said, self-leadership, sectoral leadership, school leadership in place, the rest will be history. Thank you.
Thank you. Ugochi, over to you.
Okay, so I'll just say that riding on what Mrs. Ajayi has said is to see how implementation can be done. Implementation and compliance, because you see, it's not enough for plans to be made. Because, for example, like in Favor's comment where he said the structures are present, the maintenance. The maintenance should not even be an issue. It should be something that has been put into the planner that is followed systematically. We shouldn't have a case that is until all the roofs have collapsed before people are doing so. It should be that once the first time shows up, plans are already put in place to manage it so that we don't wait for a total collapse. And then it now becomes more expensive and more difficult to handle. So I really think that we need to bridge the gap from the talking and from the planning to actual doing and executing, so that both parties must be carried along. We see how public schools operate outside the country and they almost look like private schools. That should be what we should be striving for, a public education that is as good or even at par basically with private.
And just before Safety Chick, you also need to bridge the gap. It's been a long time you said, oh, Shay, so can you bridge that gap? Say it, Joe. Time to look.
Are you waiting for? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh, Shay.
Hey, background. All right. So Jude has gone for some prophetic duties. So
I mean, no nation can rise above the quality of its education, isn't it? I mean, that was Mandela, right? And like everybody said, you have to put your action where your words are, and so that's exactly where we are. I mean, jumping on Favor's comments, believe me, the infrastructure is not there. I can tell you that for free. And all I have to say is, like I said, back up your words on print and on wherever it is with action. What we need to make sure that we amplify is that there are people we try. Honestly, our problem in Nigeria is still corruption. I don't know how we're going to deal with that. Once we can deal with that, I think a lot of things will change. But like I said, we need to make sure that we invest in education and invest honestly. Until that happens, we then know that we're moving forward. That would be my parting shot.
Oh, okay. I think I would say my parting shot before we then hand back to Rotimi. I think the first is we need, honest leadership. And I think the second is also we need a people that demands more from its leadership. I found that that also helps the leadership to sit up. So we need to go to a place where we're no longer just, taking everything that is given to us. We need to begin to come with a united voice, using what platform technology has now provided to bring this to the public as well as to government. I know that when a government comes and say they've done this and they've done, and people just come up and say, what about this and this and this? It allows us to get away with just trying to put the wool over the people's eyes, especially when it comes to close election periods. So I think we need to push back as the public, push back in making demands in a united voice so that they can't get away with just ticking the boxes. So we need to provide a pushback. Rotimi, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. And it's been a great day today. We've had so many things and we've learned so many things. I would say that I'll just blend with some of the conversations and end with the fact that we need to demand more, we need to do more, and we need to deliver more. That way we're able to curb the challenges facing public education and also make sure that we also have all our hands on deck, as Rhoda said, and we become right people in the right places through the right process, doing the right things with the right performance. So we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday and we have a very engaging topic. Make sure you're on the show. Do not miss the show as our analysts say goodbye today. We wish you having a great day. And always remember, it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. Bye.
Sure. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.